Well, it's happened. The Office is leaving Netflix. So what do we do? What do we as a society do to combat this terrible, terrible tragedy? Do we write petitions? Do we submit petitions to Netflix or NBC Universal so that we can get The Office back on Netflix forever? Not gonna work. Not gonna work. So what can we do? Well, you could go out and buy it on DVD. You could buy The Office. You can buy The Office used on DVD or Blu-ray. That way you're not giving money directly to NBC Universal. And then you can have The Office forever. You don't ever have to give it up. You don't have to worry about it being taken off Netflix. But you do have to get up and take out the disc and put in another one when you're binging it. So, that physical exercise and strain, is that really worth it? I don't know. Maybe. Maybe not. But that's the best way to combat it, really. Is to just not support these companies that are making their own streaming services and taking the content away from the streaming services that you wanted to use or you preferred. Just don't participate in purchasing these new streaming services. Don't do it. Don't give them your money. When CBS decided to put Star Trek Discovery on CBS All Access, I didn't go get it. Would I like Star Trek? Sure. Was the show good? Don't know. Heard terrible things about it. Watched the first episode on CBS, and it didn't really capture my desire to go see anything further. But I also didn't want to just give CBS money for a subscription service that honestly doesn't have that much that I want to watch on it. It's like getting HBO Go because I want to watch one show on HBO. Why not just buy that show on DVD or Blu-ray? And then I could sell it. That way I'm getting money back for my investment. Well, it's not really an investment, but I'm getting some of my money back. See, that's what having physical media actually does for you. It gives you the ability to sell your property. Sell the things that you own. But when you buy things digitally or you subscribe to these streaming services, you're actually not getting anything real. You're just leasing it. You're entering into an agreement that as long as that service that you've purchased something from or paid for, as long as you're paying them or as long as they decide to keep up that video, you can have access to it. But sometimes things like iTunes or Amazon, they lose the right to actually let you watch things that you've paid for, or in this case, something that you're streaming and you want to watch on there. They don't have the rights to it anymore. And you making a petition isn't going to change that because the company that owns that says, we signed a contract and we're just going to let it lapse. So you don't actually have any control over that. And the best way to combat that is to buy things physically or just decide, hey, you know what? NBC Universal, your streaming service, I'm not going to pay for it. It's not worth it to me to watch The Office a million times for the 16th time. You could probably quote it by now for as many times as we as a society have watched The Office. But what do we do as we go forward? The question is, can we as a society decide to vote with our dollar rather than these petitions or complaining on Facebook or Twitter, making memes and hashtags and all of these things that don't actually really accomplish what we want? But can we actually decide to vote with our dollar and say, I don't think I'm going to pay for it? Because guess what? If that streaming service from NBC Universal doesn't make enough money, they might put it back on Netflix. If they were making more money from selling making a contract with Netflix to have The Office on there, if that was making more money than their streaming service, guess what they're going to do? They're going to go back to those contracts. Smaller companies that own shows are happy to sign deals with Netflix because they can't make their own streaming services. But things like Disney, with Disney Plus and Hulu now, they own most of Hulu, they have their own platforms to put things out on. And so they're not going to sign deals with Netflix. And soon, our streaming services are just going to start piling up on one another, and we're going to be back to where we were when the cable companies were in charge, where we don't really have a choice to get the things we want to watch at a reasonable price. That was the beauty of Netflix in the first place, was there was so much stuff on there, so much freedom, and you had the DVDs. You could ask Netflix to send you a specific show, and they had just about everything. But now that we've moved away from physical media, and we rely so much on streaming, we don't actually own those things. We don't actually use DVDs anymore. We're relying on the goodwill of these companies that they're going to sit by and say, yes, consumer, we're going to treat you right. The reality is, it's just not going to happen unless we don't support them.
Explosion! Fly Fox!